Okay, one thing I noticed was that I'm getting a yellow squiggly under the app route. And it's an obscure error that's saying that the decorator will not receive a callable. The built-in decorator returns a special object. Bottom line is it doesn't like the order. This code works perfectly fine, but PyCharm likes it better if you put the static method at the top here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm just going to paste that in there. And that makes that warning go away. And so I'm going to do that now, since I only have like 3 routes. It'll save me some time later. Okay, and then I have some routes in, that was web UI. This is print routes. I have 2 here. So I'm going to go ahead and add my static method. And then same thing here. And that gets rid of all those warnings. Okay. And then I also have some warnings at the top here because of unused imports. So this one actually is unused, so I can get rid of it now. And I don't need it anymore because the things that were accessing music videos were in print routes. So that can go away. And then I have a little green blob here. That actually looks fine. I think it doesn't like, it's warning me about potential typos. And then hover over that. And then at the bottom, unused import. So once again, I know that I need this, but Python and PyCharm don't necessarily. So let's go ahead and start implementing some of these methods. So I'm done with print for now. I'm going to go ahead and create a createRoutes class. So we're going to do UI, new Python file, createRoutes. And then the top of this is going to look just like print routes. So we grab all of this. And then this is going to be called createRoutes. And then in web UI, in my run method, I'm going to import that as well. Okay, and then let's go ahead and start implementing some routes. So first thing we have is creating a new video. And that's actually more complicated, so let's start with an easy one. Let's do create playlist first, and then we'll do create video after that. So this is going to be a static method, and it's going to be app route create playlist. And then I have no problem with the playlist contents being in the URL for this one, but one of the things that goes in here is a thumbnail image or a link to it, and links can be really long, so I probably don't want to use get method just because the URL could be really long and ugly. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to use post method, and that's going to affect the thing that gets the data, though, not the thing that produces the form. So this one here is going to produce a form, and then there's going to be a different route and view function for actually building the playlist based on the data that the user submits. So I'm just going to have the view function now, and it will be named the same thing as the route is. And let's actually, so start at the end. So the end is going to be render template, and then it's going to have, this is going to be a create folder and create playlist.html. And then I might need to supply some stuff here, but probably not. So this one's pretty simple. And then in templates, I'm going to go ahead and make a new directory for create. And then inside of there, I'm going to start by copying, I guess I could copy pretty much any of these, but I'll copy the home page and paste that in. I don't have a lot to start with yet. So this one's going to be create playlist.html. And then let's change the title. So this is create new playlist. And then header will be please enter that's a little long. And then all of this content is going to go away. All right, so basically I want a form here. So I'm going to start with a form, and then method is going to be equal to post so that it's not in the URL. And then the action is going to be, let's do create playlist. Actually, I think the thing that I'm calling wants to be create playlist, and this route probably wants to be create playlist form, but I'm going to just call this do create playlist. So create playlist is going to be the thing that gets the information from the user, and then do create playlist is going to take that information and make the new playlist object. So there's my form tag. And then to make things look a little nice, I usually just do like a 2-column table kind of thing with label in the left column and the input box or whatever input in the right column. So let's start with that. And then I'm going to give this a class, just really minimal styling. So we're going to call this data entry form. And then it's going to be a table row, and then table header, and then we're going to have a label. And then the label for the first one, well, let's look at what we're doing for the console UI. So console UI create playlist is here, and we're asking the user for the name, thumbnail, description, and then we have, that's all we need basically. Okay, so we need name, thumbnail, and description. So this is going to be name, and then I'm going to copy that row. And actually, okay, so TD, and this is going to be an input box. So input type is text, name is name. And then I need to close off my input tag. All right, and then I'm going to copy that, paste in 2 more copies, and then I need thumbnail and description. And then for the last row, what I'm going to do is have a single cell with call span equals 2. And then this is going to be button type is submit. And then create. All right, so let's take a look at how that looks so far. So I have my route for create playlist. And so I should be able to navigate there and see what the form looks like. So let me rerun this. And then I'm going to go home and create a new playlist. Okay, so this is a good start. I need to style this a little bit. So for these labels, which are in the THs, I'm going to text align these to the right so they all line up here. And then these are all going to be left aligned so they line up there. And then this button, I want to shift over to the other side. So what I'm going to do is these are all THs. Yeah. So first thing I want to do, and we haven't done this yet, is I'm going to have a static style sheet. So the difference between a static style sheet and what we have in templates is templates have values that get filled in using Jinja code and values that I can pass in from my code. But the static folder is just like a regular web server where you have whatever pages you park on the web server, that's what gets served. So Flask isn't going to change anything that gets served to the browser. And you can make a static folder just by creating a directory called static. And then anything you put in here, you can access directly from the browser without having to do anything else as far as writing code goes. So it's really convenient when you want to serve something like a static style sheet. So I'm going to make a new style sheet called musicbox.css. And I didn't have to specify CSS. It would have filled that in because I selected a new style sheet. But and then, so I have a data entry form. So for my data entry form, so let me take a look here a sec. Yeah, so data entry form, and then label and button. I'm going to put some more classes in here. Okay, so this is going to be .data entry form, and then really the only thing I need here right now is inside of these THs. I'm going to make this a TH as well. And then I'm going to make all the THs be right aligned and all the TDs be left aligned. So that's going to be data entry form TH is going to be text align right. And then I can adjust the padding and stuff too to make it look a little better. And then data entry form TD is going to be text align left. And then to include this, I actually have a default template that has a header in it. And so I can put that right in the default template, and then it will automatically get loaded in all of my pages. So inside of the head right here, outside of the block, so this is going to be on every page, link rel equals style sheet, href equals, so the way you link to something in the static folder is you just say, static slash musicbox.css. And then let me see, cannot resolve musicbox.css. Might have to put UI there, but so, well, let's go ahead and see what happens when I load this now. So I'm going to reload this. And make that a little bigger so I can look at the routes. Okay, so that did exactly what I was expecting. And then I think I'll just put like 10 pixels all the way around that, just so that it stands out a little bit more. So that one I will put in my style sheet, which I've lost. Here it is. Okay, so let's do data entry form, padding 10 pixels. Actually, we should do it in ems. Yeah. Yeah, okay, I'll do 2em. That way, if I change the font size, the space will be proportional. Okay. So not beautiful, but good enough. So now, when I actually fill this thing in, so let's say I want to do one for Elvis Costello, and then thumbnail, we get one. Okay, I'll just go with this. And then I'm just going to put okay, so now when I hit create, it's going to send data to the web server. So let's look at what that data looks like. So I'm going to hit F12 to open the console tab. And then I'm already on network. If I wasn't, I could click there. And when you do this the first time, probably it will look something like this. And I find this really awkward and difficult to work with. So usually what I do is I go to the gear, actually, that's preferences. I go to the 3-dot menu and select bottom for dockside. Personally is what I like. And then when I hit the create button, it generates this request, do create playlist. And here are the Hypertext Transfer Protocol headers for the request that it just sent. So it's showing me the URL it's trying to access, which is this do create playlist action I specified. It's using post method. The return result was 404 not found because I haven't implemented this route yet. And then the address of the host and the port, and then some other stuff. So response, this is what I got back from the web server. I got basically that 404 error. And then some additional request headers with information that the web server is giving to the browser. I'm sorry, that the browser is giving to the web server. But then the important bit for a post request, since I didn't put the data I'm submitting in the URL, the important bit is this payload here, which is basically a dictionary. So it's got tagged fields like name, thumbnail, and description with values for each field. And in fact, in Flask, this will be in something that's almost exactly like a Python dictionary, just like what we saw when we used get method to send the playlist last week. Now, in raw form, it actually looks like this. So it escapes all of the special characters that can't be in URLs using a special, basically, this is representing them as hex. So ASCII representation of hex numbers. And then here's what it really looks like. So just like it would in the URL, if I had like do create playlist question mark, and then this whole thing is exactly like what I would have put in the URL if I was using get method. But here it's after the request header in something called the HTTP request body. But I can treat it the same. So here's the form data. So let's go ahead and implement a route that gets that data and just prints it to the console. So I want to do create playlist route in my create routes.py. So this is going to be do create playlist. And if you want to use post, you have to explicitly mention it. And if you're using post, you should prepare for somebody sending back a URL request that doesn't include any values. So basically what I want to do is methods equals, and then I'm going to include both get and post. So that's what the route looks like. And then the view function is going to match. So in a GET request, like if you look at print routes where I'm doing print playlist, in a GET request, the information is sent in this thing that looks like a dictionary. And there's request.args looks like a dictionary. I can see if this key is in that dictionary, then I do something here. If it's not in this dictionary, I render an error. So that's basically what I want to do in my code as well. And actually, let me do all of this stuff. So I'm going to start with all of this stuff, and instead of playlist, I'm going to do name first. So now the difference is request.args is for get, request.form is for post. But other than that, you can treat them pretty much the same. So if name is not in request form, I'm going to generate an error, and playlist name not specified. No playlist name was specified. Please check the form and try again. Okay, and then if I do have a name, I think that's what I need for the key value. So let's look at our playlist class really briefly. And if we look at the key, it's just the name in lowercase. So that's all I need to figure out whether the playlist exists or not. So key is going to be request.form square bracket name dot lower. And actually, let's do it this way. So name is request.form subname, and then key is name.lower, because I'm going to need both of these. So the key I'm going to do the lookup on. And then if the playlist already exists, I want to write an error. So I'm going to render another error template. Yeah, I'll just copy that here. So we're going to say if playlist is not none, I'm going to render an error. And this is going to be playlist already exists. And then I can use a formatted string here. So playlist named name already exists. Please choose another name and try again. All right, so now I got here, I know the name is legit. Let's test this much so far. So for now, I'm just going to say OK for testing purposes. So let's go ahead and run it. And then I'm going to go back to my browser. I'm going to hit the back button, hit create. It says OK. So that means I passed my test. So let's go ahead and make that empty. So this means it's in there and it's not found, but I also want to make sure it's not empty. So let's go ahead and add another check here. So here's where I have name. I'm going to go ahead and say if name, and I'll strip or trim the white space off of the ends. And actually, I should probably do that here. Let's trim white space off of the ends there, and then I can just do the comparison. So if name is empty, then I'm going to render a template almost exactly the same. Playlist name was not specified. Yeah, it's empty. Okay, so let's try that. So I'm going to create, and I got an internal server error, so let's look at the error here. Stir object has no attribute trim. I think it is strip. Let's try that. Yeah, okay, playlist name not specified. All right, so that check works. And then let's try Bruce Springsteen. Playlist name Bruce Springsteen already exists. Please choose another name and try again. Okay, so now let's put some spaces in here. Good. And so it stripped them off and that matched an empty string. So that looks like everything is doing fine. So I'm going to go back to Elvis Costello and create. All right, so that gets to the next bit. So I have the name and I verified that this is a new playlist. So next I'm going to get the thumbnail and the description. And then I'm not going to do a whole lot of error checking on either of those. So basically, if thumbnail not, let's say in request.form, then thumbnail equals request.form thumbnail dot strip. Else thumbnail is an empty string. So I'm going to let them not specify a thumbnail here because you don't always have a picture, and you can show a playlist without having a picture. So I'm not actually going to do, like I said, I'm not going to do much error checking here. I'm also going to do the same thing for description because once again, I mean, you can leave the description blank, and I was tempted to do that here as well. So we're going to say could have copied and double clicked and pasted and saved a little time. All right, so now I have name, thumbnail, and description. So now I can look at the original code and make sure I get all the logic the same as with the console UI version. Let me switch this down over here. All right, so I check whether it exists already. I got name and description. All right, so basically this stuff here. So that's the actual logic and database code, which is the same. So that should work exactly the same as before, except this one, I just want to do webui.get all playlists. All right, I have to call that. Okay, so that's going to append it and will also cause it to get written to the database, I believe. And then the last thing is I want to return render template, and then I'm going to have confirm playlist created.html. And that's actually in my create folder. And then I'm going to pass in the playlist object so that I can display it to the user. So in the create folder, I'm going to have, I'll just copy create playlist to start, paste in a new copy called confirm playlist created. Okay, so new playlist created. Or actually I could do playlist playlist.getName is created. And then the header is going to be the same as the title. And then in the content, let's just do paragraph. I could show the thumbnail in the description. And then, do I have a stir method? I was actually displaying the playlist before. Let me look at the HTML for that. So print playlist. I can basically do all of this stuff here. I have no videos though, so because it's a new one, so I'll probably get rid of that part. And I don't actually need to repeat that because it's already in the header. So playlist get thumbnail, playlist get description, and then don't need videos in the playlist because it's empty. And here's the name of the playlist. Okay, so that should be fine for now. Let me go ahead and rerun. And I'm going to reload this. Playlist Elvis Costello created. Here's the thumbnail and the description. And then if I print the list of all playlists, Elvis Costello is there. And then I'm going to go ahead and rerun the server and make sure it actually got saved to the database. So server stopped, and I'm going to run it again. And back here, list of all playlists, Elvis Costello. And it works.